Hi, I'm Catherine Llewellyn, the host of the podcast. You can find out all about Truth and Transcendence on truthandtranscendence.com. And you can find out all about me on beingspace.world, where you will find my online coaching offering, as well as my UK-based workshops. The Freedom of Spirit workshop for liberation and empowerment, the Pellower Radical Shift in Consciousness workshop for spiritual expansion, and transformational coaching for exploring the mind-body-spirit connection on the expansive path. You can also support the podcast by actually making a donation. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. So I'm going to preface today's episode by saying I am not an economist. But nevertheless, I'm going to mention a thing called the greedy bastard hypothesis. And this, as I understand it, broadly speaking, is a hypothesis that says that when things go wrong in the economy, or when there are too many people suffering from poverty, it's because other people are greedy bastards. And that's the reason for it, essentially. And that therefore, the way to fix it is to take wealth, money, funds, etc., away from the greedy bastards and give it to everybody else who has less. And I was thinking about this the other day. I've kind of been a bit dubious about this idea, not very keen on it. And I actually had a conversation with a friend once who said, there are some people living in abject poverty. And the reason they're living in abject poverty is because a few miles away, there are people who are very, very wealthy. Those being wealthy is the cause of those people having poverty. And I remember thinking, I just don't think that's true. And also, I just don't think that's a helpful point of view. So I think there may be some truth in the idea that sometimes greed does contribute to an imbalance and a polarity between those who have more than they need and those who have not enough, not what they need. Yes, of course, it's a factor. But my objection to the greedy bastard hypothesis is more psychological. It's more from the point of view of saying, if we're saying that people having wealth is what causes people having poverty, what we're essentially saying is there is only so much to go round. We're saying there's a kind of a zero-sum situation. We're saying there's no such thing as creativity. There's no such thing as infinite abundance. There's no such thing as generating and creating wealth. And wealth, of course, can mean any kind of wealth, but I'm talking about financially. We're saying that if I create wealth for myself, someone else will suffer because the wealth I've got is wealth which otherwise they would have. Again, I don't think that's true because I believe in human resourcefulness and creativity. But I also think it's a profoundly unhelpful philosophical position because it suggests that if somebody works hard, they're creative, they're inventive, they're resourceful, and they create something and some fantastic contribution to the world, maybe they invent something, maybe they grow a business, they will naturally receive rewards for that. They will naturally receive people saying, yeah, I'd like that. I'll exchange some money with you for it. They will naturally become comfortably off and possibly wealthy as a result of doing that. The greedy bastard hypothesis suggests that that person is therefore stealing from other people and making them poor by being wealthy. So what that means is the encouragement, therefore, is to not try and be creative, not try and be resourceful, not try and generate our own wealth, because that will make us into a greedy bastard. That's what we will be. I will stop saying greedy bastard in a moment. I've now repeated it multiple times. So that then generates an ethos which says we are all victims. We are victims of everybody else. If someone else is being successful, that means that it's harder for us to be successful. It means we're going to fail. We're going to be poverty-stricken. It means that we're in a world which says you cannot have more than somebody else without being a bad person, which says if you have less than other people, it's because they are bad people and they've taken what should be yours. This is not a generative psychological position. A generative psychological position is someone which says there is such a thing as abundance. There is such a thing as being able to create our own destiny. There is such a thing as being able to build up our contribution. There is such a thing as receiving natural and consequential reward for that. And this does not interfere with someone else's ability and capacity to do the exact same thing. It's independent of that. And it is possible, as a result of our success, to actually help people. But if we do it by simply giving them wealth, we are not necessarily helping them to be more creative and more resourceful. We've all heard the thing of saying, you can give somebody fish to nourish them for a couple of days, or you can teach them to fish. It's a completely different result. So someone who knows how to fish and is fishing and feeding their family, and then someone else further around the side of the lake doesn't know how to fish, is not being victimized by that person. They need to learn to fish. They need to learn to generate what they need. Now that might sound harsh, and like I said, I'm not an economist, and economics are much, much more complicated than what I'm talking about. But I'm talking more from the point of view of what position do we each personally choose to take? Do we choose to take a position which says, if I don't have enough, it's because some other person has prevented me from having it? Or do we take the position of saying, right, how do I generate what I need? How do I find out what I need to do to get what I need? Do I ask for help with it? And when I ask for help, am I asking for someone to give me a handout so that I can survive whilst still not creating my own situation? Or am I asking for some help in becoming somebody who generates what I need? And if somebody else has a lot of wealth, am I envious of them? Am I resentful of them? Am I bitter about that? Or am I intrigued and interested as to how do they do that? And am I interested in learning from that? Or am I interested in actually celebrating what they've succeeded in and how well they've done? Somebody once said to me, I was talking to them about one of my workshops, and this is a workshop which someone else designed. It's someone else's modality. It's called Pellower, and the group public workshop, is 363 Great British pounds per place. So that's what people pay for it. And I was talking to a friend, and he said, well, I'm really worried about that amount that you're charging for it. I said, what do you mean? What's the issue? Well, I think it's very high. I said, oh, okay. So are you thinking of attending the workshop? Oh, no, I don't want to attend the workshop. I said, well, in that case, why does it matter how much it is? Why, what's your concern? He said, well, because, the fact that you're charging that must mean that the person who developed this modality is very, very wealthy. More wealthy than they should be, much too wealthy. I said, well, what do you mean too wealthy? Well, gaining a lot of wealth off the fact that these courses are expensive. I said, oh. And then he said, is this person really wealthy? And I said, well, I've no idea, but I hope so. I hope that she's very wealthy because I think she deserves to be because of this fantastic contribution she's made into the world. And he was horrified. He said, well, I don't think she should be wealthy. I said, oh, I do. And he was horrified that I thought she should be wealthy, that she deserved it. And B, he was horrified that I didn't see the merits of his point of view. His point of view being that if she's wealthy, therefore other people are going to suffer. If she's wealthy, that's bad. because there's a limited amount to go round. And she is stealing from other people. I still don't know if she's wealthy or not. I still hope she is. So that really struck me very, very powerfully. And that's why I looked into it a bit more fully. So whoever created the greedy bastard hypothesis, that you may know some stuff that I don't know, and there may be some aspects there which are real and true. But to everybody else, please don't take that as gospel truth, and please don't take it as the only thing that's going on. Yes, there may be some corporate greed going on, and there must be. The fact we've thought of it means that someone somewhere must be doing it. But that's not the whole story. The whole story is much more complex. And bottom line, when we come down to our own lives, what do we really want for ourselves? Do we want a state of abundance? Do we want a state of being open to the possibility of being creative ourselves? And are we willing to receive the gifts from that, the rewards from that, without chastising ourselves and without telling ourselves that by us receiving wealth, or at least living comfortably, the idea that we're stealing from other people? We're not. Not if we generated it ourselves. So that's my point of view. I wonder what your point of view is. I'd like you just to consider this. Are you, if you're comfortably off, are you feeling guilty about that? In which case, what's that about? If you have actually stolen from other people, then I think you probably know you've stolen from other people, and stop it. Don't do it, obviously. But if you haven't stolen from other people, enjoy the fruits of your work. If you're somebody who doesn't have enough, maybe let go of being resentful of other people who do have what they need, or perhaps more than they need. That is their issue. That's their cross to bear. There are other burdens around having too much. That's a whole different story. But it's not your problem. It's not my problem. Consider the possibility that you're not a victim, but actually you probably have more creativity in you than you know. Maybe you need some help bringing out that creativity, in which case go and get it. But seeing oneself as a victim and seeing oneself as deserving something that we're not being given, that is not a creative place to be. That will not help you. This is my opinion. And I might sound quite opinionated, and it's because I'm actually a bit fed up with the greedy bastard hypothesis and people using that as a rationale for certain decisions and ways of being. So thank you for listening and watching. I wish you a week of abundance and celebration and generativity. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It really helps if you give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, a review, and share with your friends. If you're looking for transformational coaching or an intensive transformational weekend workshop experience, I can help with that. You can actually help the show by making a donation. Until next time, take care.